This is Arc Analysis.
This is Arc Analysis.
This is Arc
Arc
Analysis.
Analysis. That was actually a good one, minus my
The
gastronomy.
gastro.
What's the? It's not flatulence. Flatulence is all in the back
No,
end, right?
that's a fart. Yeah.
What's the high end? What's
I
the
don't
upper
know.
end?
I don't know, but I do know. Axe Cop is up next. Published by Dark Horse Comics, originally in 2010. Written by Malachi Nicole.
There you go.
Drawn by Ethan Nicole.
There you
Brothers. Brothers of quite a few years apart.
From the same mothers.
Yeah, I don't know how they're related. I didn't really look into all that. but I do know at the time of writing, Malachi was 5 years old. So he wrote this comic as a 5-year-old. And when I say wrote this comic, it was more like there's a chicken with guns, and then he goes to the bank and he takes out some bubble gums and he shoots this guy and then he bleeds and becomes a cat. And it's like
if you had a conversation with a 5-year-old or like 4 to 6, the imagination is off the rails and off the levels is amazing, but like the continuity or the grammar connection of this makes sense to this isn't there. So that's kind of the charm of Axe Cop, because anything can happen, and he's literally a cop that found an axe and became the Axe Cop. So
yeah, that's right. He just found an axe. Yeah,
it's kind of amazing when it comes to comics, like how original this is and how much it just makes you believe in comics, because at some point someone's just like, what would happen if like a spider bit a dude and he got spider powers? Like, this is essentially what we're looking at. Like, what if a cop picked up an axe? He would be Axe Cop, right? So that level of charm never wavers, and it makes me love comics that much more, knowing that something like this exists out in the ether. The fact that a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old can get published for stories that are insane, hilarious, weird, don't make sense, but given the right pairing and the right artist, right? Because the art really lends itself, because it's kind of played real the way that he draws. And I think black and white really helps this comic shine.
Yep.
I enjoy the fact that this exists. Like, this could happen off someone being like, you know what, little bro, you got some crazy ideas. I'm just start drawing. Here we are.
I absolutely agree. This is the magic of this medium and how it can work. That being said, this is the first trade we're talking about. There was 7 stories included in this trade, or 7 parts. There's a lot going on. I think only 4 were stories. The other ones were like the Axe Cop thing,
right?
Which I think were actually better than the stories.
I agree.
Those little like you'd read those are the type of comics you'd read in the back of the, like old newspaper. Yeah, it's like, oh, Garfield, Marmaduke, and here's Axe Cop, and that would be like, oh man.
He's a perfect insert. He'd be amazing in like any comic that you take seriously, to be like, I need to take a break.
Yeah,
let's ask Axe Cop, right? Like in a variant universe, he'd be amazing.
Like those learning things. Be like,
that's why we don't smoke on the playground. Yeah.
Here's Axe Cop.
That'd be amazing. And there was a short-lived animated series too, voiced by Nick Offerman, who was the perfect voice for Axe Cop. Yes.
Have you ever watched it? I've never seen it.
I did. I learned about the cartoon before I knew there was a comic. Because how do you not watch a police with an axe just beating up sharks?
I'm pretty sure a few years ago you did tell me to check out this Axe Cop thing, and I was like, okay, and I put it on the back burner. I just never did. Is it like this?
Yes, but it's curated better, right? So like, there's a coherency of, we're trying to put these on. So I can't remember if it's like a 15-minute, like, you know how Adult Swim used to do like 8-minute episodes or kind of thing like that. I don't know if it's the same as that, where you get like 3 episodes in like a 30-minute or quote unquote 22-minute block with different kind of adventures of Axe Cop. But I do remember it just being, it's this amount of crazy, but you understand the A to Z. This one, you don't really, in reading it, there's no real A to Z. It's kind of like A, X, C, 7, number sign,
back to C.
And then like a run-on sentence.
So that's kind of thing that this story is like, because it's like, all right, this was written by a 5-year-old. Okay,
Right.
so you get that. You have to know that going in, because
Mhm.
if you ever had a conversation with a 5-year-old, you kind of know what you're getting into. It's very enthusiastic, very creative, but all over the place, just like this book. Is it charming? Yes. Is it drawn well? Like you said, the match. Yes, it's everything's interesting, but it really gets hard to keep going after a while.
Yeah,
Like I am
it's not paced
surprised that
well, and
no.
it doesn't read well for something that seemingly the best stuff about it. Ask Cop. Like
Yeah.
those start like trudging on. I was like, I don't want to like be upset that I have to read another one of these. Like these are good when they're good, but the
Yeah.
fact that I have to read so many of them, it's like, how many questions do you ask this one guy? Like,
Too much of a good thing. It's like if you have a bunch of cupcakes, but they're really really rich.
mm,
You have one. Okay, good. I'll come back tomorrow. A couple days. If you have too many, it's like, whoa, come like this is just, then you start to like not like them anymore. That's kind of what this is like. It's like
yeah,
I was reading everything because how we read for this. You kind of
yeah,
read
we
a lot at once, and it's like, man, I
blocks.
can't do this. I gotta spread
Mhm.
this out, otherwise I'm gonna start hating this. And there's no reason to hate this. This is fun. It's just there's no coherency. It's just like, okay, Axe Cop and Flute Cop, and then Axe Cop becomes Axe Cop and Dinosaur Soldier, and
Yeah,
then
that was great.
Uni Avocado Soldier Man is overpowered with that with a whole.
You-
It's like,
avocado is
what is?
great.
And then he's like, oh, he gets avocado juice on him. Now he's an avocado, but he doesn't want to be an avocado anymore. So he uses his magical horn to put himself back in a dinosaur soldier. It's like, this is insane.
If there was ever a definition of what we call whoosh in a comic and then story, it's this because
It is.
it is literally and then. But if you've ever again talked to a 5-year-old and then this happened and what happened next and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened, so like that's the charm. But my question to you is, how do you break this down so that you're enjoying this, right? Like, should this only have been like a Sunday comic, sure, where you
Yeah.
only get a panel? Like, how do you release this in trades? Because you can't release like this can't be a graphic novel.
No, it started out as a web comic and it just blew up. And I think that's the key there, is that the web comic you drop what, weekly,
Right.
bi-weekly. Like it's like Ethan was saying, he'd call up his brother and be like, okay, what do you want to do with this? And then sometimes he couldn't even get the right answer, or he couldn't get an answer at all. So he'd be like, all right, I'll come back to that later.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so that's going to take time, right? Because then he has to write those down, and he has to
Right.
draw it and kind of form it, right? So I think waiting, like imagine reading like 2 pages, and then you don't get the rest for another 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then it's kind of like, all right, and then you don't really care if it's coherent, because it's just kind of, it's like a fun
Jumping all
little
over the
like,
place anyway.
yeah, it's a fun little 5-minute reading, like you said, like the insert at the end. I'd always skip over and read Garfield or whatever. I was like, okay, this is funny, and then that was it. It's the same sort of thing to me.
But for me, like based on the writing pairing and the drawing, like Axe Cop is more of the powder toast man. Like he doesn't have a Ren and Stimpy. Like he needs like lead characters, and with the world that you're creating, it's easily to be like, okay, like there's a tree and there's a shoe, and those are my two guys, and he can write something coherent that's about those main guys. And ever so often, Axe Cop shows up because he's so much better when he's sparing and just like kicking down the door, doing whatever he does with his weird mustache powers or like mind control,
Yeah.
kicking somebody in the neck, fighting Chuck Norris. And those are all funny things. But if you kept like we had to keep reading that compound, it loses its charm so fast and faster than it needs to that you're like, what's missing here? And for me, it's like it needs to be like a Tex Avery world. It needs to be like a Looney Tunes world. There needs to be more of this irreverence so that like the stern characters or the straight men kind of have time to breathe. There just needs to be something to break it up so it's paced better. Because having to trudge through how many pages was this? Good lord,
Yeah, over 100.
100.
Yeah.
Like, why would I buy another book of this? You've given
You
me,
don't need them. Yeah,
you give me the kitchen sink.
and it keeps going. There's like 7 trades, I think, or 6 trades. 6 trades.
Like, stop talking for like 2 years straight with the amount of like content that he squeezed out of him.
Yeah. Well, now he's like a young man, so it's not really. It ended, I imagine, but actually, I'm not even sure about that.
Yeah, no.
But well, some of my favorite things are the things that just make absolutely no sense. You know, the villain, telescope gunman.
He was awesome.
He was awesome, but it was funny. He gets rejected from the crew, right?
When
They
he's
can't
doing
join-
auditions for the cops.
Yeah, he wants to join the crew. He gets rejected, so he goes back in time and kills Axeman's parents. But then Axeman's still there, so it's like, So it makes no sense. It's like it makes absolutely. So I was dying at that.
You retcon how like Flute Cop and Axe Cop are brothers
Yeah,
because they're like the siblings younger.
Yeah.
And at some point like they audition Unicorn Baby, and Unicorn Baby doesn't be a cop, so they give it to Telescope
Yeah.
Man, and
Yeah.
Telescope Man's like, all right, I'm gonna partner him. So like, because it so doesn't make sense, it's kind of hilarious.
it's fun that those things that make absolutely zero sense I find hilarious. But then it's like the same thing. It's like this guy gets blood on him, so he becomes a vampire. Then he gets avocado, he becomes an avocado. Then he gets like taco juice. I was like, okay, can we do something here? Like that's which is a weird criticism to say because it always goes back to the mind of a 5-year-old. So it's like, okay, you can't really. I don't know. I can't.
Sure, for
go
Axe
at it
Cop,
hard. Yeah,
but you're
for
like
Axe Cop, right.
you're helping like lean into my point. Like, and I'm finding it here now. Like Malachi was 6 at this age, right? I'm like deep down in this issue, and Ethan was 30. So like that gap, you don't think in 24 years Ethan had come up with his own characters that he could find a way to shoehorn into this world and talk about a little more?
Yeah.
Just because Axe Cop was your meat and potato in your spotlight doesn't mean you can't build a bench. Like Space Jam wasn't Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. It was Daffy, it was Taz, it was Granny, it was Foghorn Leghorn, right? Like there's a whole cast of people that do one thing really good, so they shine a little better, and that makes Bugs and Mike look even better because you have all these role players. So for me, this universe, this world, this Axe Cop that we live in just needs more role players so that you can break up the craziness that's coming from the 6-year-old and maybe some sanity from the 30-year-old, unless Ethan had like I find that hard to believe that a comic book artist had nothing in the world. This may have been the best, but like your worst would have been interesting in this type of environment.
Which story did you like best? Because I liked the evil planet one where they went searching for the Unibaby, but then they had gifted like 2 million or 200,000. So it's like 200 million other babies, so they're just looking for the one with the hole in it. It's just ridiculous. Or did you prefer the Ask Axeman? Because those were really good. I would actually read a couple of them and then just skip a bunch, and then read a couple, and then like I didn't really, you know what I mean? Because too many of those in a row was like, oh, I can't do this. They were fun.
I'm satisfied that you could remember different stories. At a certain point, they all start to blend together.
Yeah.
And I love the Axe Cops, if not for the responses, but for like Ethan kind of filling in the blanks. Because I love the Chuck Norris one. Yeah. It's like, what would you do against Chuck Norris? And then like Ethan had to been like, I had to explain that like Chuck Norris is like a karate dude. So what would this kid do? So certain things don't match up. But like that trope gets so old so fast, right? Like
there's too many of them.
The Ask Comic or like the Ask Comic writers in the back of issues are usually letters, and most of the times the comic writers are dicks back, so they barely write anything, or they just write something that they think they're funny, and then we move on, right? There's no real charm or picture attached to it. This was like its own book in itself. Just what would Axe Cop do with his, if he didn't have a mustache? Like Axe Cop would never not have a mustache. He was born with a mustache, he would die with a mustache.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird that for me, Ethan didn't want to add into everything that Malachi was giving him, right? Like this should have been a writing team, because Axe Cop is what shirtless bear fighter would be if you didn't have a group of people being like, okay, now stick in this bear pun, and now stick in this joke, and stick in this joke, right? You could overstuff this with some sort of coherence, if not just humor. But it's interesting. Like I'd love to talk to Ethan, right? Like one, to find out how you started this conversation with your little brother, and then 2, to be like, I could draw that, and then 3, to be like, I'm gonna keep drawing that, and then 4, to be like, I'm not gonna self-edit. I'm just gonna let it be what it is.
Or you can even like input things like, what if there was a friend? What would he look like? They're like, oh yeah, he's cat ears, dog face man. It's like, okay, let's work with that. We'll just shelf that, and I'll flesh out myself. Right?
But he says that in a couple of the letters of like, his brother would just say like monster, so we'd have to fill in kind of the blanks of what you think the monster looks like, and there'd be times where he animated like one of the characters too fat, and his brother got mad. He's like, he's not supposed to be fat, and I was like, well, it's too late. He's already in the book, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's weird that there's no brother relationship in the book, other than, I guess, like Flute Cop and Axe Cop. But I would love to see a parallel of the actual brothers in this world.
That'd have been cool, yeah. That'd have been interesting.
Because then Ethan kind of play up their individual personalities and kind of things that you could characterize or caricaturize. What's the word?
Characterize?
Yeah, no, but like
you said that already.
I know, but when you turn them into a caricature.
Oh, like a caricature, yeah.
Is it still
caricaturized? I don't know, I guess.
Jeez. Good Lord. I had enough of this language.
Caricaturize?
This is not a book that should break my brain, but it broke my brain.
No, but it is. You're absolutely right. What you said earlier. This is the definition of and then, which is no. It's the definition of and then because it makes sense. The kid's 5, right? So,
yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
The art is beautiful.
Oh no complaints with the art. Sorry.
I'm so glad it's black and white. I
Yes.
feel like that's a lost art. And Ethan is definitely a talent when it comes to the T-Rex with the machine gun arms. That had me rolling for longer than it needed to.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Every once in a while, there's something that'll hit just right. It's like, okay, there you go, you got me there. Like it's the telescope going, man, time travel thing made no sense, and that made me laugh out loud. It's like this makes no sense. But I'm riding. It's good. We'll roll with it. Anyways, we give these we rate these on a good or bad basis. Good being boom, bad being bah, or whoosh for what did I just read?
It's a whoosh.
So definition of whoosh, yes. It's an and then, and it's a whoosh.
But if you read just sparingly, it's a boom. If you read the entire issue, it's a bah.
Yeah,
so
this is our first like triple entendre.
Yeah, do yourself a favor, sparingly. Or check out the cartoon.
I was gonna say, just read one issue of this. That's it.
And
one issue
and a couple of axe cops.
And you get the drift of it, and then you kind of revisit it whenever you feel like. It's very, very digestible and very easy to revisit whenever you like.
Yeah, I wonder if because there's follow-up issues. I wonder if they like curtailed and tried to give some sort of sense. Because there's something about the presidents.
I'm not reading 6 trades of this. That's not happening. We did the one trade, and that is it.
All right.
Unless somebody convinces us, and you can do that. You can also send in future Arc Analysis books for the show. Arc Analysis. You can hit us up at Twitter, @comic_patrol, or use our email, comicpatrolpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, let us know if caricaturize is a word or not, or if you characterize or you caricature.
Characterize. Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Characterize. That's not a word. Characterize.
Charcuterie board.
Charcuterie with some soft cheese, some new meats.
Hey, Stat Boy's back, baby.
What?
Oh my gosh, Axe Cop, I'm so sorry this is taking so long. There's so much red tape bureaucracy with normal justice. But know this, I am your loyal partner, and I am going to get you out of here before you can finish the alphabet.
I'm never leaving here.
Axe Cop, don't give up so soon. I know it seems bleak, but we're pooling all our money to get you out. I even dipped into Unibaby's college fund. Please don't tell the missus.
But I don't want to leave. Prison is the best. Monday is gym day. The bad guys get to exercise, and I chop their heads off. Tuesday is movie day. The bad guys get to watch movies, and I chop their heads off. Wednesday is game day. Duck. The bad guys get to play games. Shh. Chop! And I chop their heads off. Thursday is family day. Well, you get the idea.
Axe Cop, does the warden know you're doing this?
Yes, the warden loves it.
He does? I don't know, Axe Cop. Something about this sounds really suspicious.
Hey, visiting hours are over.
Bye. Boom.